Oriire funowo. Good tidings to you. I pray that you are feeling awake, aware, and elevated in mind, body, and spirit, wherever you are, and whatever may be happening around you. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. I'm Baba Umar, Oluranse Emese, voice of the MSA, and member of the Isoro Traditional Council of Chiefs, Oluwo of the House of Umar, Babalao of Ile-Ife, Orisa. Let me thank you for joining us for another lesson in our video blog series. I invite you to click the links below to become a subscriber to this channel. Click on the notification button to stay up to date, and share this resource with your family, friends, associates, and anyone that you think may benefit from the wisdom of Ifa. Homage to the one who sends and to those who are sent. Homage to Orisha and Egun. Ifo kanbale omo Orisha. Peace of mind from Olodumare, children of Orisha. Our topic for this video review is from my December 2016 blog post on how Ifa speaks. In that post, I spoke about the history of Oyeku Meiji. In this video review, I'm going to change up and speak about the history of the Sacred Odu Ogbe. The Isoro Traditional Council of Chiefs have entrusted me with the delivery of a series of teachings on the history of the 16 major Odu Ifa. This talk explains how Ogbe came to be one of the first, or the first, of the Odu in the Sacred Order of Orunmila. The Orisha Orunmila, also called Ifa, is the source of the Ifa literary corpus. The Odu Ifa are called the children of Orunmila. The sacred Odus and the Essay Ifa, the Essay verses, the Ifa verses, within them were brought into existence by Olodumare for the purpose of helping Orunmila in the human world to accomplish the mission for which he was being sent from Orun. That is, to assist us, the Anion, human beings, the chosen ones, in achieving our chosen destinies. Orunmila and the Odus accomplished this task by speaking to us in proverbs and using the Orisha, humans, objects, animals, plants, birds, insects, trees, and other aspects and forces of nature to teach us through the example of others. Even the sacred Odus themselves are part of the exemplary tales and histories in the sacred oracles of Ifa. The sacred Odus speak to us, you and me, about our past, present, and future circumstances. In other words, you and I are the subject matter of the Sacred Odu Ifa. The messages of Ifa talk about choice and consequences, humility and arrogance, despair and hope, oppression and liberation, abuse and redemption, stagnation and transformation, justice and injustice, good fortune, Iri, and bad fortune, Ibi, life and death, and so much more. Everything that you and I may have some concern about or need guidance for as we make our journey through the Loja is there for us to access in the Sacred Odu Ifa. The history of Ifa begins by telling us that things are subject to change. That fact is made very clear because according to the history, Olodumare changed the order of the sacred Odus after testing them, testing their character, their Iwapele, and testing their Ori. The order of the sacred Odus, according to the Sacred Order of Orunmila, is based on the behaviors and choices of the Odus. So it is with you and me. In Ifa, we believe that our journey in life depends on both our destiny, the choice we made in heaven before coming into the world, and our fate, the choices we make once we come into the world. The challenge, our challenge in life, is to align our fate, our post-birth choices, with our destiny, our pre-birth choices. As we share the history of how Ogbe came to be the first of the 16 major Odu Ifa, called Odu Ifa, the importance of your and my individual choices will become clear. In Ifa, predestination is always associated with our Ori Inu, our inner head, carrier of our destiny, and our Ori Ode, our physical Ori, our egoistic consciousness. Your Ori is considered to be the symbol of the power of free choice that you received in heaven before making your journey into the Loja. You'll also be able to see how Ifa speaks to us within the Ifa literary corpus. A quick word about predestination. In the Christian theology, predestination is the divine foretelling, the divine foreordaining of all that will happen, especially with regard to salvation of some and not for others. This is not Ifa. From the Ifa perspective, predestination refers to the destiny you planned for yourself before you came into the Loja. It's chosen, it's not imposed, and it does not refer to your salvation, but to the direction of your journey, where you plan to go in life, and what you plan to accomplish. In other words, predestination is like a planned trip. And as with any such trip, you're free to make stops, detours, changes along the way to your planned destination. Your fate, your post-birth choices will determine how successful you are in reaching your destiny, your pre-birth choices. And what you set out to accomplish is not necessarily restricted to one lifetime. So it's a big difference between the use of that term predestination from an Ifa perspective and the use of that term in the vernacular of Christianity and the so-called monotheistic religions. Now remember, in reading Odu Ifa, there are several points or principles to keep in mind. Let me give you 7. 1. The Awo, the Babalao, who is casting Ifa, is presented. 2. The persons, or characters for whom Ifa is being cast is presented. 3rd, the reason or situation presented to the Awo, to the Babalao, that is the reason that the Ifa is being sought, is being consulted, is presented. The response of Ifa is presented in the Odu. Number 5, the Ebo advised to be done in order to address or resolve the matter, as well as the attitudes and behaviors that should be addressed and changed, is presented in the Odu, in the essay. Whether or not the advice is heeded and the Ebo performed is generally presented, and What was the final outcome? These are the 7 basic elements of each essay in the Odu Ifa. Now note that all of these parts do not necessarily appear in every essay Ifa. Also note that when you see an essay for a certain Odu, that is the verses of a story within a certain Odu, does not necessarily represent the essay, all of what that essay, all of the essay, let me put it that way. It doesn't represent all of the essay that are a part of that particular Odu Ifa. In the traditional oral corpus, each Odu Ifa may contain 360 essays, and each essay may contain 360 variations. The sacred oracles of Ifa is a living and comprehensive body of knowledge about how the universe works. Second concept or idea, set of ideas to bear in mind in studying the Odu Ifa. Ifani ki isen. Ifa is not a religion. Ifa contains religion, but we cannot sum up what Ifa is simply by saying, oh, the Ifa religion. Ifa is not a religion, though it contains religion. Ifani ba wo aiye shishe. Ifa is how the universe works. Ifani iwati aiye. Ifa is the nature of the universe. Boa ru Ifa soro. Like Proverbs is how Ifa speaks, the subject of this particular video presentation. Ifa ki ipuro. Ifa does not lie. Ifa ki iseke. Ifa does not mislead or deceive. Ohuntio osele nifa unwi. Ifa simply says what will happen. As you read and study Odu Ifa, you should reflect on the messages your Ori wants you to grasp so that you may transform your life in positive ways, achieve Oriire, abundant blessings, abundant good fortune, and develop Iwa Pele, positive, good, uplifting, good character. That's the reason that we study the Odu Ifa, so that we can have tools to navigate our way through the Loja at the highest level that we can in this life cycle. So let's talk about the history of the 16 major Odu. In particular, we'll talk about Ogbe. Back in 2012, the Isoro Traditional Council of Chiefs wrote me and gave me the wisdom to be able to present this history. They said, the knowledge and secrets of each Odu Ifa and the creation and history of each of the 16 major Odu, called Oju Odu, is very sacred. The history and creation of each individual Odu gives us the insight into the uses and positions of each Odu in the spiritual realm. Before the Odus were arranged in the present order as we have them today, there was no specific order or sequence. However, the history, creation, and use of each Odu created a hierarchical sequence of arrangement as ordained by Olodumare for their purpose in the realm of human beings. Olodumare made us understand that all of the Odus were children of Orunmila. Olodumare caused the Odus to come into being for the purpose of helping Orunmila in the human world on the mission for which he was being sent from Orun. Odu Ogbe. Okanjuwa ki ije. Won omo opin. Eni apatosi. Ni won funitan. Eni gegesi ayatosi. Ni won funi komo okun. Adifa funa wun. Odu me re erinde logun. Ti won rele olodumare. Ti won olo re joba wale aye. Greed has blinded their sense of proportion. He that deserves the arm was given the thigh. He that deserves the chest was given the buttocks. This was the reading lot of all of the 16 sacred Odus when they went to Olodumare to choose a king for them before coming to earth. This Ifa verse of Ogbe tells the story of how he became the first among the 16 Odus. Ogbe was the youngest among the 16, and he was also the least endowed physically. When it was time to go to Olodumare to choose a leader amongst them for the mission to earth, he went to his own Babalawo to seek guidance and direction on the way forward. He was told to make a sacrifice of a cow, 16 cowrie shells, and a change of clothes. Ogbe was so poor that he could not afford a live cow. So he brought just the head of a cow. He gathered the 16 cowrie shells and took the only clothes he had on his body to make the sacrifice as directed by his awo. So right off the bat, can you already begin to relate to this story and to Ogbe? Small-framed, poor, a target for bullying or abuse or humiliation. Soon after the sacrifice, Olodumare called all the 16 Odus, and they were led by Ofunmeji because of his size. For he was the giant among them. He was huge. When they assembled at the presence of Olodumare, he gave them a cow and told them to return to him in 16 days after sharing the cow accordingly. He would then choose a king and leader amongst them for Orunmila's mission to earth. When they got home, they started making preparations on how to kill the cow and share it. None of them were prepared to go anywhere or do any preparation for fear of being cheated out of the cow. So right there in that part of the Odu, of the history, you get this sense, well, there was distrust among the Odus, and if there was distrust among the Odus, then there was some question about the Iwa Pele of those particular Odus. So they all decided that the smallest among them, Ogbe, should go to the forest and bring firewood and leaves and other ingredients for the cow's preparation. How about you? Were you the youngest sibling in the family? Are you the small kid in your group of friends? Or a female among dominating males? And therefore the one who is always picked on to do the grunt work? Or perhaps a child living with an abusive parent who says things to you and does things to make you feel like you don't measure up, like you're not good enough, like you'll never be successful, that they're sorry that you were ever born. I know. Look, this is us. The Ifa is talking about you and me and what we live through each and every day of our life. Someplace on the planet, there are people who understand fully what this Odu is talking about. So it was that Ogbe went into the woods, and before he came back, the cow had been slaughtered and distributed, with Ofunmeji taking the choicest part and all of the other Odus taking theirs as well, according to their size and their sense of importance and relative importance to each other. Ogbe was left with just the head, stripped of all meat. He took the head without grumbling, because he was so small. He was too small to fight and argue with them. And so he said to himself, even if I was there, I would still get whatever they decided to give me, not what I want. Can you relate to that? Can you relate to that feeling? To all of the people in the world that are suffering, whether it's for political reasons or reasons of race or gender or physical ability or disability. So they all went home with their parts of the cow. On the 16th day, Olodumare summoned all the 16 Oju Odus into his presence to ask them how the cow was shared amongst them. They said, Ofun Meji took the thighs, Oshe Meji took the arms, Irete Meji took the heart, and so on according to their physical size and power. Now note, the way in which this is presented is the reverse of the order that the Odus are in today. Ofun Meji is the last of the Odus in today's order. Oshe Meji is next to last. Irete Meji is the third from last. So this is the reverse order according to this history. Anyway, Olodumare now asked, who got the head? They all laughed and said it was Ogbe because he was the youngest and was also the smallest. Olodumare now turned from them and caused 16 horses to appear with different robes and staffs of office and said to them, your greediness has made you give your rights to the one that is small and powerless among you. Therefore, he that has the head will be your king, because Ori ni Obaara, the head, is the king of the body. So it was that Ogbe became the king and leader of all the 16 Oju Odus. Olodumare then gave Ogbe the task of molding the human skull before Obatala joins all the other parts of the human body. Here's my message to you from Ifa. My message to you, the Anian, human beings, the chosen. All of you who are mocked and ridiculed and abused and passed over and humiliated for one reason or another, please believe me and remember that the cause of your suffering is not a flaw in you, but rather a lack of Iwa Pele in those who cause your suffering. In the end, you will rise to the top in honor and respect. So hang in there. And like Ogbe, stay humble. Don't let your heart be filled with envy and jealousy and resentment and hatred. Heaven is on your side. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. Ibashe Olodumare. Ibashe Orunmila. Ileri Ikpin. Ibikeji Olodumare. Homage to Orunmila, witness of fate, second to the Creator. Ori mi ape sin, my Ori, the most precious. Ise Olorun Tobi, God's work is great and mighty. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. Ki Olodumare Orisha ati egun fifune ni itona imoye ati opo ire. May Olodumare Orisha and ancestors bestow on you guidance, wisdom, and abundant blessings. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. Ifo Kanbale, peace of mind from Olodumare. Ajo Lo, Ajo Bo. We go out together. We return together. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo.